In this video, I'll be going over estimate decimal multiplication, also referred to as decimal products. So let's jump right into the first example, 5.2 times 3.6. And what we're looking for is an estimate. So what we'll do is we're going to round it to the nearest whole number. So we'll take both numbers, 5.2, and we're going to round it to the nearest whole number. And when we round to the whole number, we look for the number to the right. This case is 2. And the rule of rounding, 4 or less, let it rest. So 2 is less than 4, so we will let it rest. It becomes 0, and we do nothing with the 5. So 5.2 will become 5. Now what about 3.6? 3.6, we're doing the same thing. Looking to the number at the right, 6 is 5 or more, raise the score. So we're going to raise the 3 by 1 and make it 4. And 6 will become 0, as the number has been rounded, it becomes 0. So 3.6 in this case would be 4. So then we just take 5 times 4 equals 20. And our estimate answer would be 20. And we use this symbol for approximation. It's not exact. It just means that it's about 20. (5.2), we can imagine 5 containers which represents the 5 as a whole, and then we have another container which is about 2/10 full. So I'm gonna shade all of them to indicate that they are full. So that's what we have here, 5.2. And 3.6, we have 3 containers that are full. And for the 4th container, it's 6/10 full. As we are rounding, we can see 2/10 to be less than half. Half would be right around here. And of course, this is not drawn to scale, but this is 2/10. And since it's less than the 1/2, therefore we're letting it rest, means we are taking it out completely. So this is gone, and we are left with 5. So this becomes 5. For the 3.6, and half of the container is right here. As you can see, 6/10 is 5 or higher, so we're gonna round up instead. So instead what we're doing is we're gonna fill up the rest of the container and make this 4th whole. So now we have 4 containers that are full, and we have 5 containers that are full on top, and we multiply them together, and we get 20. This is a visual of how rounding works. You can imagine if container is half full, we're going to round up, and if container is less than half, then we're going to let it rest. In our case, we let the 6th container to rest, so we're left with 5. Now let's compare it to the actual answer. So if we take 5.2 and multiply by 3.6, our answer would have been 18.72. That would be the exact answer, and this is the approximate answer. So you can see we are actually very close. But by rounding and multiplying the numbers together, we're able to get the estimate value. Now let's try another one. In this case, 7.52 multiplied by 9.12. Now feel free to pause the video if you would like to work on this yourself before the answer is revealed. Simply play the video again when you are ready to see the answer. 7.52, rounding to the whole number, 5 or more, raise the score, raising 7 to 8. The rest turns to 0. So we have 8 as the first number. Then we have 9.12. 1 is 4 or less. Let it rest. So we're not doing anything here, leaving it 9. So that would be 8 times 9. So the approximate value in this case is 72. Now what about the exact answer? If we multiply together, the actual answer is 68.58. So we can see that we're not too far off, and our approximate is close, so 72 would be a good estimate for this example. Now let's do one with slightly more decimal places. Now we can see that there are 3 decimal places for each of the number that we are multiplying, and what we are doing is still rounding to the nearest whole number. So even though we have 3 decimal places, we are still rounding it to the whole number. So looking at the number to the right, that's what we're doing. Any number after 7, we don't look at. All we care about is the 7, because that's the number that's going to determine if we round up or do nothing. So 7 is 5 or more, raise the score. So we're going to raise 12 by 1 and make it 13. And rest of the number all becomes 0. And as a whole number, this will be 13. Now for the second number, as we look at the tens value, 3 is 4 or less, let it rest. So we do nothing with the 3. And everything after that becomes 0. So this will be 3. And then we just take 13 times 3. And that equals 39. And if we actually take the number 12.795 times by 3.329, our answer is 42.59. So our approximate is close to the exact. So we would approximate this as 39. So now you should be pretty familiar with how this works. And we'll have a quiz question right after this last example. So 9.14 times 2.92, rounding to the whole number. 1, we will let it rest. 9, we will raise the score. So take 9 times 3, 27. And so the approximate value is 27. And by multiplying the actual numbers of 9.14 and 2.92, we will get 26.69. So we are very close on this one. And 27 is a good estimate for this problem. Now we're going to do the quiz problem. And this is just one question and testing to make sure that you've mastered this lesson. So go ahead and pause the video and work on this, and I'll be back in about 10 seconds and work out the answer. Okay, I'm back. So for this problem, rounding it to the nearest whole number, 5, we will raise the score. This will become 8. And 4, we let it rest. So we have 8 times 4, which equals 32. So the estimate is 32. So if you've gotten 32 as the answer, great job, you've mastered this lesson. If not, please go back to the previous examples and review the area where you've made a mistake. And feel free to come back to this quiz problem again and try doing it again to make sure that you get it right. So the estimated decimal multiplication is to round each of the decimals to the nearest whole number. And make sure you know the rule of rounding as anything 4 or less, let it rest. Anything 5 or more, raise the score. Hopefully this video is helpful to you, and thank you for watching.